Let me get educated real quick.
I knew my only way to get on the floor was to defend.
So you've probably heard that the Warriors.
That is very good self-awareness on his part. Say, I ain't really good at nothing else. I'm gonna just defend.
Good again.
But before they got KD, Draymond actually was shooting threes at a decent rate. It's just once KD came, people started clowning him. I ain't gonna lie, I feel like those casuals. I'm a casual, but I remember seeing it before. I'm like, why everybody clowning him for shooting threes bad? Like, it was like he got the rep of always being a bad 3-point shooter. But I was like, prior to that, he actually wasn't terrible. That's all I remember. I don't remember him being terrible, so I don't know. He used to shoot threes for sure. Yeah, I feel like he wasn't terrible at all. It's just when KD came, KD took so many shots that it took food out of everybody else's mouth. But again, Draymond is so self-aware that he's like, all right, well, that'll help me excel. I gotta find other areas to excel at, other areas to make myself useful at.
And sure, their Steph Curry-led offense is difficult to guard, but it's actually been the Warriors'
power forward
defense that has led the way. And I mean great.
Are you asking or are you telling?
Capital G, like a stop the presses. They're historically.
What did I say?
Kind of great. Since the ABA merger in 1977, only 9
Are you responding to Antonio?
With a defensive rating that was at least 7 points ahead of league average. These are defensive juggernauts like the revolutionary 08 Celtics,
I know he'll power forward.
Spurs and the 90s Knicks. The 2004 Spurs have the best regular season mark on record, a whopping 8.8 points ahead of the league. And after 25 games, the Warriors' defense is exactly 8.8 points ahead of the league. So Golden State has played like one of the best modern defenses, and they've done it with an incredibly progressive scheme that maximizes their personnel, along with the singular brilliance of Draymond Green. Green gives them a kind of flexibility most teams can only dream of. He's able to lock down wing players on the ball, so guards can't expose him when he switches onto them. Here he's guarding Damian Lillard.
Very versatile defender.
And he's agile enough to slide in front of Dame's drive, then peels off Lillard onto another guard and just takes his lunch money. Yet he can also switch onto a 290.
They have Kevin Looney, James Wiseman. Is Wiseman hurt though?
And use his 7'1" wingspan to rip him too.
I think Wiseman hurt. I don't know. I haven't seen him play this year, or much this year at all. What's up, War?
He's off Lillard and back on a center here. And this time it's a pick and roll, so Draymond drops back, recognizes that the on-ball defender is picked off, so he closes hard and blocks the jumper. Most players
be out till March.
Can't guard 4 or 5 positions that well, fly around the perimeter, or succeed in every kind of pick and roll coverage. And yet Green's most important skill is probably protecting. Among 21st century defensive savants, only Kevin Garnett can match
Wiseman in G League
to sniff out threats.
Yeah, I don't think he in G League.
Materialize in the lane with a kind of basketball spidey sense.
They should have traded that pick for a big man.
Over here minding his business,
for a veteran big man.
Pounce when the ball handler springs free and then instantly recovers to the ball.
But we'll see how it plays out in the future.
7-foot DeAndre Ayton with a perfect vertical contest.
Steph and Clay gonna be playing for a while. I don't know about Draymond, because he plays a little bit more physical.
He's playing center here,
but we'll see.
The ball. But the moment he sees that Andrew Wiggins doesn't need help, he looks elsewhere. And because Draymond recognizes a dangerous Seth Curry, he steps up hard to take away three. So he
good help defense,
protect the paint, stick point guards, centers, or big wings like Kevin Durant. And he's basically a coach on the floor.
The rest of the bid might be boring.
The ultimate weapon for a forward-thinking defense that Steve Kerr and his staff have created.
Any votes to move past this?
So progressive about this
Who posted this? Was it Antonio?
We need to start with their fundamentals. First, their communication is phenomenal. Curry calls for a switch early here. Then he's behind Fred VanVleet and calls for another one so Jordan Poole can step out high if needed.
Okay.
And then Andrew Wiggins is early with his communication to Poole, and he uses length to contest a tough shot against the clock. They're constantly talking and pointing like this. Draymond tells Steph to stay low, instantly realizes they are setting up a pin down screen for Durant, then changes the call so Curry can interfere with Durant's route, and that gives Draymond time to recover.
Smart.
And make it an extremely difficult shot, even for
he kind of had Steph delay a little bit, just wait back.
Their effort is a constant. Sprinting back here off a make because DeAndre Ayton was behind the play. You see Steph calling for someone to pick up the ball. This time, Draymond's the one directing traffic. When there's a breakdown on the ball, he immediately sends Looney to the front of the rim. And watch Wiggins. He veers off Van Vliet because Looney hasn't covered. Then Toronto has to reset into a pick and roll, and it's Curry pointing to the opposite block for Looney, and then Kevon blocks Gary Trent about 5 times on one play. They trap the pick and roll here, so these 3 players are zoning up against the other 4 Bulls. Poole commits to the ball, Curry splits the difference, closes out to the pass, which triggers Poole to rotate to the corner, and this is all textbook. After everyone recovers, it's another pick and roll. Draymond
Man,
is early to
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. That's
the
chemistry
second
right
that
there.
Pass arrives, Wiggins hightails it from the top to cover for Draymond, and then he leaves because Looney is there.
Chemistry
and closes out to a 28-footer.
And just a bunch of players who know, who have really good help defensive IQ.
You can see how perfect an offense
How long you
has
streaming
to
for
be
it? I don't even
to
know,
create
man.
Easy shots against this level of teamwork and multiple efforts from multiple players. It's also the second possession we've seen Wiggins trust his teammate
That was
to
a nice
cover,
pass.
so he could rotate elsewhere.
They just all over the place. Oh, I was about to say Levine better get that out.
Trust is the other core fundamental.
Trust.
Here.
That's it. Yeah, they
On
trust
this
each
play,
other.
You'll see Landry Shamet get a half step on Otto Porter, but everyone trusts that Porter has it covered, so no one helps unnecessarily. That means the offense never creates an advantage.
They
Phoenix
patient.
has to fall back on a late clock pick and roll that Wiggins calls out early and repeatedly, which helps Gary.
I saw
Payton
everybody was
second,
going crazy because
and
Wiggins
you
got
know the
voted as an
drill by
all-star.
Overhelping is basically rotating when it's not needed. The ball is already contained here, and a late double team just bails out the offense. And the Warriors are incredibly disciplined about not overhelping, especially given how much they rotate. Draymond has to read whether Andre Iguodala needs help, and he's nearly perfect at gauging these decisions and derails Durant's drive. That leads to a Golden State runout. And what happens
Nice tip
next
by Iggy.
epitomizes this defense and Green. Coming back down the floor, Draymond has the ball covered, but Jordan Poole overhelps, committing an unnecessary foul from behind, and Green is livid. This is a 21-point game, but trust is critical for this defense to work. Draymond's particularly sensitive to this because of his own evolution as a defender.
I was a great off-ball defender at Michigan State, but in most situations I would overhelp.
And this is part of him coaching on the floor. Watch GP2 come off the corner here, even though Draymond already provides help. And
I wonder how long it took him to
immediately
make this
tells
video.
Gary that you
It's so
don't need to
detailed.
help in that situation.
He's an all-star this year,
All of
either
these
reserve or starter.
fundamentals, communication, effort, and trust.
They said he got voted with the
make it
starters.
possible to
You
string
talking about
together clinical defensive
Wiggins?
Possessions. Green helps. Wiggins.
What are you talking
sits
about,
down to help him.
Draymond?
Porter splits the difference on the weak side, and Curry's strong contest makes it an easy steal. Those fundamentals also allow the Warriors to take their defense to the next level, possibly giving us a glimpse at the future of the
Wow, good defense. Who was that? Was that Otto on here?
defense is
Who was that on Blake?
at the future of the league.
Good defense.
Defense is complicated. We could spend hours
Jokic
dissecting
offensive
all of the
vid
different
good
pick
too.
and roll coverages, but what's important to know
I'm gonna
is
have
that
to
the
watch it.
Warriors can play any of them because of their personnel.
Not tonight, but definitely in the
They
future.
change their coverage
If
depending
I do a
on the
long stream,
opponent.
recommend me
Looney's
that
in a
video.
drop here, and he knows LaMelo Ball loves lobs, and he breaks it up
Huh.
nicely. Against a playmaker like Trae Young, they trapped the pick and roll so he'd have to give up the ball, with the other 3 players zoning up the line and recovering as needed.
They all got pretty good IQ for their positions. Like it's really good. They just work well together.
Take away the roll here, and that prevents Chicago from creating any advantage. And while we've seen Golden State switch a few times now, they also pre-switch, and that just neutralizes screens like this and leaves Draymond behind the play where he's at his best. And sure enough, he tags Gary Trent coming across the lane, chases him into Curry's zone for another switch, and then instead of worrying about Steph's man, he makes a beeline for the basket, and that
the communication.
legend,
oh my gosh.
It can look like Draymond is roaming around just playing center field out there. His man is way up here, and after a while it's like he's not guarding anyone. But this is
he's watching the whole
Golden
court.
State's next level scheming.
That's crazy.
The Warriors will bring an extra
They built that
defender
IQ.
to the ball side of the floor to help against isolation or any two-man game.
Draymond, what's the word?
And James Harden doesn't
orchestrates a lot of it.
They look for a Durant ISO on the other side, so Draymond tells Wiggins to
like tamales.
On the other block, and this allows more ball pressure while simultaneously deterring penetration. Other teams typically wait to rotate from the opposite side in these situations, and that can leave them behind the action. But the Warriors are basically a step ahead of the offense.
The guy you're watching reminds me of this guy.
Big man here, JTA
I bet yours is probably a
mismatch. And
Jimmy High Roller video. Oh, Jackson Kruger.
Right. Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, okay. Football version. Okay. Where is that? Oh, here we go. Jackson Kruger, nice though. That's facts.
The ball side, which triggers GP2 to zone up these 2 players, and then JTA immediately recovers off the pass, and it's yet another late clock jumper. And this overload technique isn't reserved for big men or special situations. Curry just floats into the paint here and tells his teammates to zone up behind him, and this is just a wall of defenders, and Devin Booker forces the action, and Steph comes back over to take a charge. Essentially, Golden State is taking away empty space, trying to avoid situations where a defender is stuck on the other side of the court, and the offense has a ton of open real estate to work with. And this is true for pick and roll situations, but also isolation. A big man is switched onto a speedy guard here, and that triggers communication from Curry, who's like a coach out there himself. So they overload and zone up to avoid the clear out. And since this looks like a zone at times,
man, once Clay get adjusted, oh my gosh,
quite a bit. Only
they're gonna be
these
crazy.
aren't basic zones from your local high school. They leverage many of the same principles we've discussed so far, because zoning up spaces and helping teammates by reading the action applies in both man and zone.
Good job by 5.
Dangerous in those passing lanes, and Steve Kerr sticks him at the top of their 1-2-2 zone, and you'll notice he slides down to the free throw line here to choke off this high post pass. And taking away this pass was one of the guiding principles of Lute Olson's 1-1-3 matchup zone at Arizona, where Kerr played in college. That's Steve sliding under to deny the pass to the original Gary Payton, and that zone had a ton of rules for changing positions and tracking the action around the court.
A lot of
and
passes.
So you'll see players like Payton II
Lakers, I don't know what happened to them.
Change positions in the zone, and he ends up all the way down on Ayton on this one, who's just a bit too big.
Chemistry. And they
just
broke up the team unnecessarily. I think the team that they won the championship with, they broke up that team unnecessarily.
Where players maintain a 2-3 formation and stick to designated areas. But the Warriors,
like that bubble team was nice. I ain't gonna lie. You could have took a few players off, but they switched up too much. Switched up entirely too much.
Instantly rotates to his spot.
It's just like, we got LeBron, we gonna figure it out, but
and they reset
it's not like
in
that
position, and it's another tough shot. Of course, it helps to have a mind like Draymond's out there. He tells Looney to get out over this corner screen here, then feigns toward the ball, but he's baiting a pass,
Hey,
and that kills any advantage for the Kings, and it leads to another forced
good
turnover.
defense,
It
man.
doesn't stop with the
The
zone,
thing is, a lot of
They'll go
players
box and
overvalue
one. With one
offense.
defender dedicated to a player like Chris Paul,
That's why it's
the
hard to
other
find
four
good
zoning
defenders.
up. There's the
Everybody want to
box,
be Jordan.
and yet again, Curry slides over with the action and forces a turnover.
Nobody want to be
This is
Rodman. Nobody want to
passive
be
either.
Gary
They have
Payton.
Payton hound opposing wings, and it is dangerous dribbling around him at times. And Golden State usually goes
Oh,
box
that
and
was a good
one
dunk.
with only one or two viable shooters out there to guard. There's a brief breakdown.
Everybody want to be
on
Jordan,
this play,
AI.
then a familiar
You know what I'm
sight.
saying?
Curry directing Otto Porter to the opposite block, and they recover beautifully.
Oh my
All of
gosh.
this means the Warriors can disguise their defenses. Maybe this
What I
is
like
man,
is how they picked up all these young
was it
players
zone?
and they building a
I'll
nice
tell you what it was.
They building a nice,
triangle and two
young
defenders
core of
dedicated
role
to
players.
two
Like they building their
shooters
role players
under
rather than going to
free
pick up
zoning
role
up.
players for free
And
agency.
this is
I got a
similar to
few
overloading
they picked up,
side,
but
where
they
communication,
building some
trust, and
too. I like that a lot.
effort are key to making the system work. And all of these defensive looks can be confusing for opponents, and they'll drain a ton of valuable time off the shot clock. And sometimes teams aren't sure how to attack this. That's terrible offense. And all of these defensive stops lead to runouts and easier shots on the other end. And this is the final dimension of the Warriors' defense. It makes their offense better. The
Oh,
Warriors are third
Nice.
in the NBA in forced turnover percentage, and they're first in offensive possessions that come after a steal or a defensive rebound. In other words, a live ball stop that generates transition and early offense. Why is that so important? Well, the average
Otto and
offensive rating
GP2
in the NBA
are great pickups.
after a steal or defensive rebound is 115.
Wiggins was solid too. I ain't
The
gonna lie.
average offensive rating on all other possessions is under 106.
Rating, no water.
So by generating so many live ball stops, the Warriors offense starts with more high value chances than anyone else in the league. If they had fewer live ball stops, say the same rate as the Portland Trailblazers, they'd lose about 3 points on their overall offensive rating, dropping them down from third in the league to around 10th or 11th. Yes, this defense is so good that it makes the offense that much better. And this is what happens when great coaching, a progressive scheme,
got some hops.
and versatile personnel converge. Wiggins does a great job at the point of attack, and his size allows him to play all over the floor. GP2 is a ball hawk and quick in passing lanes. Looney is a rock as a traditional center. Even Curry is a great communicator and strong on the weak side. And of course, in the middle of it all is the best defender of his generation, Draymond Green. So, is this the best defense of all time?
Dang.
I don't know. The 2004 Pistons.
Wow.
Is this the best defense of all time? I don't know.
Okay, it
The
didn't look bad from that
2004
angle.
Pistons were off the charts with Rasheed Wallace. The Russell Celtics lapped the league on defense. And we still have to see how Golden State fares in the playoffs, where they may be vulnerable to size or great shooting. But right now, the Warriors are playing like one of the best defenses we've ever seen, and their versatility and hybrid scheme may very well be the future of NBA defense. There's more on this defense for Patreon insiders that you can.
Oh, you got podcasts too. Oh, that's pretty cool. Available on Amazon, Patreon. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
You done messed up, Aaron!
Ain't no need to play games. I'm cool with zeros on the stat sheet. I don't care if you knew Patrick Mahomes. Them lies you telling won't get past me. If it's meant to be, I'm not gonna ask for a second chance. I'm only gonna ask you once after that, then it's out my hands. I'm not gonna question, just accept it, part of God's plan.